Kamea is 9 years old and Sakari is 13 years old, and they both are not quite full grown yet. They are juvenile orcas at those ages. So they still have some growing to do, and hopefully we'll get a good look at them in the shallow slide out at some point during the session. And you guys will probably notice a little bit of size differences between the three that we care for. One of the biggest differences that is easy for us to see between the males and females is their overall size. So Takara is 32 years old. She weighs just over 4,500 pounds, whereas the males at their adult size are about double that weight. Kayuket, our largest orca, is weighing over 9,500 pounds. So overall, the males get much larger than the females, and some of their characteristics get exaggerated too, like that dorsal fin on their back, their pectoral flippers, which are on the sides of their body, and their tail flukes. A male killer whale's pectoral flipper can get to be the size of a car door, so very, very large, especially compared to that of the females. You guys, a little wave hello from the three females right there. So during our presentation today, I am going to be trying to focus the information I share with you guys on how we take care of the killer whales and make sure that we are providing them the top quality of care, as well as their welfare needs, and I talked a little bit about enrichment as well. So we'll be focusing on that. Currently, the three whales are interacting with one trainer, which is something you might not see quite as often. We typically work with one animal at a time, especially when you see us interacting with the whales in a presentation setting. But this is a way that we can get the animals working together. Killer whales are a highly social animal, so it's important that they understand and know how to interact with each other. Now, specifically with Takara and her two offspring, they are a very tight-knit grouping. Killer whales are matriarchal animals, which means the most dominant animal is typically a female. Now, our people right here in the front row are a little bit of splash zone. So from left to right, we have Sakari, Takara, and Kamea. As I was saying earlier, a little bit of a size difference you guys can now see. Kamea, the 9-year-old, is weighing a little over 3,000 pounds. Sakari's a little over 4,000 pounds, and then their mother, Takara, just a little bit bigger than that. But when the killer whales are interacting with one trainer and we're asking them to do behaviors together, we call that a team contingent behavior. That means in order for one of the animals to succeed, all of the animals need to succeed. So this really goes towards a teamwork mentality, which is good for their social dynamic amongst each other. So back to what I was saying about killer whales being matriarchal. This is also pretty cool because of the fact that I mentioned earlier that the males are much larger than the females. But despite that size difference, the females are still the ones who are typically the leader or most dominant animal of a pod. And for our pod here at SeaWorld San Antonio, that would be Takara. You guys are getting to hear something pretty cool right now over in the other pool. I'm not sure if that is Kayuket or Tuar, but they are doing a behavior called a tail lob. And they are interacting on their own time right now, so they are just doing their own thing. They're not being asked to do those behaviors by trainers at the moment. And that is a behavior we'll often see the whales use if they're trying to maybe communicate something to another animal, or even if their body is maybe feeling there's another demonstration of it. If their body's feeling itchy, so they actually have skin that is exfoliated at a much higher rate of our skin, about 4.5 times faster. That is something that helps them to maintain a very nice and smooth exterior. vocalizations are coming from. So if you think that vocalizations come out of their mouth, go ahead and raise your hand nice and high for me. Oh, okay, nobody. Good job, everyone. So where does it come from? Their blowhole. Great job. Yes, they make their vocalizations out of their blowhole on top of their head, which is also where they breathe from. Their mouth is really just used for eating. They will use their mouth to investigate things in their environment, interact, and play with each other. Sometimes you'll see scratch marks on the bodies of whales and dolphins. These scratch marks are called rake marks, and they are a naturally occurring physical condition that the whales would get from either playing or potentially fighting with each other. Interacting in that manner would be how a whale displays their dominance. So you're going to see the most dominant killer whales don't really have any rake marks on them because, like I said, they're the dominant animal. They're in charge. But like I said earlier, their skin exfoliates nice and quick, so if you see those scratch marks on an animal, they typically only last a week or so before being completely healed. Now you guys are getting a demonstration of what we would refer to as an exercise session. So we're asking the whales to do some higher energy behaviors, jumping in the air, swimming fast. And this is important for the whales just for the same reason exercise is important for you and I. Orcas living in the ocean would get all of the movement and exercise they need from hunting typically. So that's going to be a time in their lives when they're expending all of this high energy behavior, or also from playing. But typically hunting is where we're going to see those high energy movements. The killer whales that live here at SeaWorld San Antonio get all of their food provided for them on a day-to-day basis, so they don't need to expend that energy to catch their food. So that makes it our job as animal trainers to come up with some fun and creative ways to supplement exercise into their day-to-day lives. Now I think they're coming back into the shallow slide out again. Speaking of the food that they eat, you guys, especially those of you up front, might notice that they are not chewing the fish that are being thrown into their mouth. They're swallowing them whole. They do have teeth in their mouth. The teeth in their mouth would be used for ripping and shredding larger prey items into smaller pieces, as well as what I mentioned earlier for interacting with each other. Now here at SeaWorld, we feed the killer whales, all of the fish that we feed them is small enough that they can swallow it whole, so they do not need to do any ripping and shredding of their prey. Their diet is comprised of a variety of different fish: capelin, herring. We feed the male killer whales salmon, and depending on the time of the year and just our fish supply, they get other things like mackerel and squid as well. You get our largest whale is eating over 125 pounds of restaurant quality fish every single day. So we actually have a team here at SeaWorld that is dedicated to the fish prep for all of the animals throughout the entire park. So we have a team of 5 employees that come in at about 4:35 a.m. every morning to do our fish prep, and they sort through about 3,000 pounds of fish every morning for the entirety of our park.